Anyway, my name is Anna Ingels. I am a software developer at OrderSlip, which is a startup here in the Central Valley. We're based out of, okay, I'm not standing there. We're based out of the Hive, which is just down the street. It's the really bright building you see if you're coming on the 41. We came out of Bitwise, so we are a baby of Bitwise, but we're not technically like Bitwise, and we're our own company. I'm also a GDG organizer and Women Tech Makers ambassador, so I get to help put on cool events like this one. And I'm also in charge of the International Women's Day Celebration Conference, which happens every March. And that is where it's like this, but it's really targeted towards bringing more women into tech. It's open to everyone, there's something for everyone, so if you don't identify as female, there's still something there for you. But that happens every March around International Women's Day, so somewhere between the 8th, 9th, and 10th. So mark your calendars. It's a really good time. On top of all of that, I am also the CEO and founder of a company called BOK Brand. And so what BOK Brand is something that started out as kind of a side project and turned into something a little bit more into a business. So I'm going to talk about that progression, how to engage an audience and create your brand, and then we'll have some fun and do some activities and things like that. So I'm going to be really careful of this water bucket, but if I come really close to it, because I might just scream, like literally. So some backstory on BOK Brand. It started out as a kind of side project, an art project. So by day, I'm a software developer, so I do a lot of coding and technical stuff, but I don't get to do a lot of creative stuff at my job. And I was really missing that. I'm someone who really likes doing creative things. And so this started off as a side project, a fun thing that I would do in nights and weekends. So I would do illustrations, I would find quotes that I find inspiring. And it was really centered around mental health and being okay with not being okay, which is kind of where the name came from. So I created this Instagram, and then it started gaining some traction, and people started to take notice of it, and I started making some t-shirts. So people started to wear these t-shirts, and a lot of my coworkers here in the Bitwise building started buying them and wearing them to work, and they have a lot of eyes on them, and so people were like, where did you get that shirt? And more people began to buy them, and that's what eventually became my company, BOK Brand. Yeah. So these projectors are actually not the best. The colors look really terrible on this, and since I have a whole section on colors, this is going to be really difficult, but this one is much, much, much better. Yeah, you want to do that? I don't know. This is down. Is that dimming? Oh, look at that, some mood lighting. Okay, so this one is much better than this one at colors. It looks like this one's in black and white, so we'll just deal. We're kind of punk rock here. But yeah, so today I'm going to talk about how what I started as a side project turned into an actual legitimate business, and then how to create a brand that really resonates with your audience and can also become something bigger than you expect it to. So first and foremost, what is a brand? This is a cool quote from the founder of Intuit. A brand is no longer what we tell the consumer it is. It's what the consumer tell each other it is. So your brand is really your identity. It's how your audience figures out who you are. It's how you are distinguished from everyone else doing the same thing as you. So, and this applies to literally everything. So even now we're seeing with social media, personal brands. People are branding themselves and paying attention of how people are, resonating with their content, with, the things they put out into the universe on social media. And it's the same thing for your business or your service or whatever you're trying to create. It's how people distinguish you from everyone else and how people recognize you. So that almost hit me in the head. It's how people recognize you. So it's really about separating yourself from everyone else and making sure that your audience knows who you are and knows what you do, and then they know how to come to you because they recognize you and they can distinguish you from everyone else. So we're going to talk about how to create your brand and really make sure that the audience that you are wanting to target is what you're finding success in. So we need to first ask, who is this for? So who are you creating this for? Whether it's a service or a product or a personal brand, who is your target? Who are the people you're honing in on? So like, you need to pay attention to things like age. What's the age range that you're focusing on? Because the things targeted to an 8-year-old boy is going to be completely different than what's targeted towards a 25-year-old woman. So paying attention to age and gender identity. So what does that person identify as? Because a lot of times branding needs to take that into account when you're trying to advertise or market towards a particular person. You also have to pay attention to location. If you're trying to do something internationally, pay attention to that. Where's your audience coming from? And then really, really importantly, what languages do they speak? Because a lot of times there's some faux pas in branding where they don't pay attention to where their audience is and what languages they speak, and then they do something like put a word in their branding that is offensive in another person's language, or doesn't make any sense or is gross. So really pay attention to your audience, what languages they speak and where they're based out of, because you don't want to be that person whose brand is like poop in another language. Also, really importantly, look at their interests, because this really is important when you're looking at your why, which is what we're going to get into next. So I'm using BOK brand as a case study for going through this process. So when I was figuring out who my target audience was and who I was going to create my brand identity and target and market to, it was women. It was women from the ages of about 16 to 30. So that was who was really resonating with my products. That's who was buying my products, and that's who were paying attention to my brand. And so I saw these women buying my stuff, wearing them, posting them on social media, and so that's who I started targeting. And these women are mainly from English-speaking countries, but from all around the world. So I have a lot of people buying stuff in England and Scotland. But yeah, so focusing on English-speaking countries and women of this age range. So that's kind of how I do my marketing too, and targeting my ads and those kinds of things, which is a whole nother discussion. But does anyone have any questions right now about finding your target audience or anything like that before we get into the next portion? If not, that's fine. All right, perfect. So the next thing you really want to think about when you're talking about your branding is your why. So this goes into what purpose does it serve? So you have a product, you have a business, you have a service. What does it do? Who is it for? And most importantly, why should people care? Oh my God. Oh yeah. Wow. Everyone went off at the same time. I thought that was like fire alarm. Wow. So be aware for a red Hyundai Elantra, California plates. So in case we get out of here, pay attention. But yeah, back to this. Why should people care? So what purpose does your product serve? What purpose does your branding serve? So for my brand, I centered it all around this message: it's okay to not be okay. So my focus is really on mental health and emotional well-being and those kinds of things. And I built my whole brand around this idea, just completely centered around this. And this is what resonated with women. So I started getting Instagram posts like this one, and these girls were posting about how important it was for them to talk about their... how important it was for them to talk about their mental health and emotional well-being and physical well-being. And having this as an outlet for them was really cool. And it was really good for me too, because they started wearing these clothes and posting about their experiences, and then their friends saw that, and then their friends started buying the clothes and posting about their mental health experiences and emotional well-being. And that's how it reached so many people, and so many people started seeing my brand out there. It was because this message is really important to a lot of people. So if you have a message or, you know, a why people should care about this, build your brand around it, because if it resonates with people, then they'll do the advertising for you. You don't even have to pay for it. So the next stuff is kind of the who are you, how to get into actual, you know, the logistics of branding. Oh, I would not sit there. There's a drip right here. We'll move you. Let's move your chair over here. I'm sorry. There's literally a drip, like right there. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. There's an extra chair here too. Yeah, there's like literally water coming right here. But does anyone have any questions or thoughts on your why when you're creating your brand? Yeah.
Does this all like apply to whether you're offering like products or services?
Yeah. So like
It's all the same.
when you're thinking about your products or your service, like why would someone buy your product? What does it do? How does it make their lives easier? Like what are you doing for them? Because you can find like a lot of purpose in your idea and your product or your service, but making the other people who are going to buy it, who are your audience, care about that, that's what really, you know, goes from it being something for you and something for them and something that someone will actually care about and buy and, you know, buy into. So, yeah, any other questions?
Before you launched your brand, did you kind of like set out to find your why before you did it, or there was like kind of like a process?
So, yeah, I was kind of like, I started it as like an Instagram centered around this mission statement, and that's what resonated with people, and that's how it became kind of a brand, is because it was so mission aligned from the very beginning. But you can see this throughout other brands, like, I mean, even this building, like Bitwise always says, Bitwise is about people, and that resonates with people, and people love coming here and being part of the companies that are in this building because they're so good about creating their brand and sticking to it. They have everything mission aligned. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, perfect. So we're going to get into kind of the nuts and bolts of who are you and, you know, what is your brand? So these are things like, I know a lot of people in here are, you know, design based. They're really into design. So these are going to be things that you're aware of and something that we can kind of discuss at a deeper level. So, you know, colors, logo, your name, your voice. So we're going to start with colors. So colors is a really fun one. And I know a lot of people who are into design like love talking about colors. But if you're not in design and you're just thinking about starting a brand, colors mean something. Colors evoke emotion, they evoke feelings. And this is a cool little chart that came from Canva. And if you guys don't know about Canva, it's a free design software. It's a really cool, good place to start out if you don't have access to like Sketch or Photoshop or any of those kinds of expensive design tools. But it's free, it's on the internet, and it's great. So this is from them. So this kind of goes through a lot of the like, you know, colors at their most basic level, you know, primary, secondary colors. And talks about like what emotion and what feelings and what words each of these colors evoke. So, for example, red, danger, passion, excitement, energy. So when you see that color, a lot of times like it's used in error messages because it's like, no, don't go here, stop, this isn't for you. You know, green is natural, vitality, prestige, wealth. That's why you see it in a lot of like organic food stores and, you know, places that are trying to sell the idea of natural. Yellow, optimistic, cheerful, playful, happy. I'm not going to go through every single color, but I think you guys get the idea. But when you're picking out colors for your brand, keep what they mean to other people in mind, because once again, this brand is not about what you think, it's what other people think about your brand. So making sure that you're not conveying something you don't mean to through your branding and through your colors is really important. So paying attention to how people respond to the colors that you choose in your personal brand or your business brand or your service brand. So this is a fun one to look at. I know pretty much anyone who's taken design like one class has seen something like this where they compare the colors. So I mean, if you drill down to the very, very, very base of both of these companies, they're massive corporations, but they both deal with food. but their branding is so different that you can tell that who their target audience is completely different. So McDonald's, they do bright colors, bright red, bright yellow. They're trying to evoke feelings of excitement, of youth, of happiness, and their target is kids. They want kids to eat their food. Whereas Whole Foods is selling, like organic stuff, and they want people who are, wanting to focus on their health to buy their foods. So they have this like natural green and whites, and everything's very clean, and like it's for, older people. So they pay attention to who their audience is, and their branding really, really, really reflects that. So right now we're going to do kind of a fun exercise. So I want you guys to think of 9 words that describe your brand. If you don't have a brand, think about your personal brand. Like, what do you want people to think of you? How do you want people to respond to you? So if you want to get out your phones, get out your notes, think about 9 words that describe your brand. You can have a brand that you've always wished and dreamed of, like, oh, it'd be so cool if I could start this. Just think of 9 words. I like adjectives. I use a lot of adjectives in mine, but yeah, I'll give you guys a couple minutes to work on that. And feel free to talk about it. We'll have some time to talk about it afterwards, but. Okay, we'll text Alicia right now. Here, do you want to come sit over here? Like over in this area? No problem.
The writing's like phenomenal. It's just really hilarious to play with. So like the Pokemon battle, like, how you do your options and stuff. So there's like an act, and then like when they record it, and each enemy does like a main which is like
All right, does anyone need any more time? More time? Yes, more time, okay. Cool. It just is. I know there's a lot of words, but it makes you kind of think more and more about it. 3 words is easy. 6 words is like kind of hard. 9 words is like, you're like, oh, what is this? Yeah. All right, is everyone feeling good about it? All right, so I want you to stand up. I know, guys, it sucks. Welcome to it. Okay, everyone stand up. And I'm doing the Rio. Find someone you don't know. Tell them what your brand is, whether it's a personal brand, a service, a dream product, and then tell them your 9 words.
I kind of know you. Okay, well, we don't really.
What's up?
Okay, I also don't really.
exercise. It is hard, but what else? What else? Ah, okay. It's like resourceful. Oh yeah, it is. It is. I just use that one. Helpful. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Okay, useful, yeah. And then one more. Pull it out deep inside of you. Electric. Yeah. Okay, cool. That's your 9 words.
How bad would it be if I would have said for your friend? How bad would it be if I would have said? Are you recording right now? I'll try to.
Took a while because it was like because it's easy to come up with kind of like surface level words like what I want, but like figuring out what you want. I'm touching this mic, I should. But like diving in deep into like what you want people to think about it. Like there's something that I want it to be, but what I want other people to think about it, that's different. Yeah. But the words I chose for this talk are very surface level, so I'm going to get to that. All right. How does everyone feel? All right. Is everyone good? Thumbs up if you're good. No? Everyone's in it. Everyone's in it. They're into it. Everyone good? All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 0. Great. That was awesome. I'm glad you guys talked. Does anyone want to share their brand and their 9 words to everyone? Does anyone feel like being that person who stands up and does that? I know it's hard, and I know imposter syndrome is real, but does anyone want to do it? You want to do it? Perfect. All right, what? Okay.
So, our brand is a robotics team. That's our logo and our brand.
Nice.
Already all professional looking. So the words we used was robotics, creative, diversity, high tech, opportunity, dynamic, unity, skillful, professional, and helpful.
Awesome. That's very good. Those are good words. Does anyone else want to share? Feel so inclined?
They do.
You two do?
Those two do. They're also another robotics team.
You know the robotics team? You don't have to. I don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable. But if you feel so inclined, you can. No? Okay, perfect. I don't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable, but does anyone else want to share? Okay, well, we won't have to. So I chose some like really basic words that I wanted to describe my brand, so I'm going to go over mine now. So these were mine. They kind of go into like what my branding is, and I really wanted to focus on these words because what I'm dealing with when I'm talking about mental health is really heavy and it can be really dark. And so I really, really, really wanted to focus on words that juxtaposed with that feeling of like, oh my God, I'm never going to get out of this hole. So fun, playful, youthful, colorful, happy, bright, exciting, inspiring, and creative. So that's what I wanted people to see when they saw my brand, even though we're dealing with things like mental health and those feelings of inadequacy or feeling like you don't belong. I want them to see the brand and see that it's something that is, it's okay, it's fun, it's fine. Just because you're struggling doesn't mean you're broken, it just means you're struggling. So that was what I wanted people to see when they saw my brand, and then, when they delved deeper into the actual content of the brand and what we stand for. It's a little deeper than that, but this is kind of the base level when I chose what I want to display to the world. So I was talking about naming. I am so bad at naming. I just chose Be Okay because that's kind of my motto, but my advice was if you're in tech, remove a vowel because that's what everyone else does. I work for Order Slip without an E, and a lot of places do that. They just take out a vowel. So if you're ever stuck in a name, maybe take one of your words and remove a vowel, and then you're pretty much good. So I'm going to kind of go through how I took these words and turned it into what my branding is now. So I looked at a color chart and kind of played with the words that I wanted people to see, and then created a color scheme that I use consistently throughout every single thing I do. So I chose this kind of pinky peach color, which looks like orange on this screen, but I promise it's a pinky peach color. It's kind of feminine, it's fun, it's happy, it's bright. I chose the yellow, it's youthful and happy and exciting, and red is also exciting and creative, and again, all these words kind of go together, and I chose this kind of cream to offset it, so but I really wanted to focus on like what colors represented these words, and that's how I picked out the colors that I used throughout all my branding. And then I used that same peachy color in my logo. And then I have to say, not every single branding decision that you think is really clever and really cute is going to work out for you. I got the domain Be Okay Store because I was like, it's like bookstore, B-E-O-K, store. But literally no one ever gets it. I have to explain it every time, and people are like, what? So, not all your ideas are going to win. Not all my ideas are going to win, but you just try things out and see what sticks. Throw things at the wall. Another thing that was really helpful in figuring out your brand and figuring out how to get your brand to be something that your audience really resonates with is finding inspiration. So I looked at the people who were kind of taking interest in my Instagram and in my shirts, and I looked at the other companies that they were interacting with. So I looked at other Instagrams that were really colorful and fun and had the things that I wanted to have, and other companies that were doing things kind of similar in my niche. So this is a stationery company that I was really inspired by, and they have really fun branding and colors, and I was really inspired by what they're doing, and kind of gained inspiration from what they're doing and put that into my branding. That is not to say steal people's ideas or steal their branding, but look at the other people who are doing stuff in your niche. Like, how are they setting themselves apart from everyone else? And kind of take that and run with that and make it your own, because you don't need to reinvent the wheel, but you can if you want. And the most important thing when it comes to your branding is keeping it consistent. Again, your branding is how you distinguish yourself or your company or your product or your service from everyone else who's doing the same thing as you in that space. And it's how your audience recognizes you. So that's not to say that you can't rebrand yourself once in a while, but don't be rebranding yourself every week because your audience is not going to know who you are. You want to be recognizable, you want to be distinguishable, and you want people to know when they see your logo or they see your colors or they see your email, your Instagram, your Facebook, that it's all you. It's not an imposter. So keeping it consistent across all your platforms, across your marketing emails, your social media, your website, is really important to making sure that you maintain that brand awareness. And this is a really good quote that I really liked, is dream big, start small, but most of all start. So if you have that dream idea, you want to do something, you want to start a brand, you want to start a company, you want to start something, just do it, just start. I know there's so many things in the way where it's like, I don't think I can do this, I don't know if this is for me, but just do it, put it out in the universe and see what happens, because you never know. This would never happen if I didn't start a weird Instagram on my, when I'm in breaks at my office and started drawing after work. This would have never started, this would have never been a thing. And I just started putting it out in the universe and it became something. So just start. I know it's scary and I know it's like, what will people think? And I was super embarrassed. One of my coworkers was wearing my shirts and another one of my coworkers was like, where'd you get that? And I turned bright red and was like, don't tell her, and she did. And the CEO of Bitwise, Irma, was sitting right next to her, and she was like, wow, that's cool. And I was like, don't tell her, don't tell her. But they were super supportive and really, really kind about it. And so, not being so embarrassed about it is, just put it out in the universe. Because it's probably gonna be, like, people are gonna like it and people are gonna support it because it's you who's behind it. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask now. Yeah?
How many hours per day do you say you spend putting this
So hours, it depends on what it is, but generally about probably 20 hours a week at this point. I've actually brought on some people to help me with stuff at this point because it became way too much. I have a full-time job, and it's a lot of beyond full-time. As a software developer at a startup, it's kind of overwhelming. So I have some people who help me out with things. I have someone now who does all my email marketing, so I don't have to do that anymore. And so I put in personally probably about 20 hours on the week, and then I'll put anywhere between like 5 to maybe, I don't know, sometimes like a lot on the weekends. Yeah.
Do you sell your clothes through the Instagram, or do you distribute them to some other shops?
So I have a website and I have a fulfillment person now. So I upload my designs now through a service, and they print my stuff and send it out for me. So I don't have to deal with it anymore. Any other questions?
So how long was it that they started to run? When did you start to now to getting like traction?
So I started my Instagram in December of last year. And then around March, it began gaining some traction. And then over the summer, it just kept growing and growing and growing. And now it's like Q4 of 2019, and it's become an actual business now. So it took about a year to do that. Any other questions or anything? Thoughts? Inputs? Comments? Critiques? What was that?
Which program do you work in? Photoshop, Sketch?
I work in Illustrator mainly, and I do a lot of my illustrations on my iPad in Procreate. Yes?
One thing that we use a little bit of is we actually have a branding standard document.
Oh, yeah.
So something you said with colors was kind of interesting. We actually have very specific colors. We have like our Pantone values or our values. So that if any kid wants to do that, they can actually select things that way. We've seen some teams that have, okay, we're yellow, but there's
Yeah.
37 different shades of yellow.
Yeah, that's super important. Yeah, when you're creating your brand, if you're bringing other people on to help you, having a brand guideline, a lot of big companies have it that you can find, and people are super particular. So we work a lot with Google, being in Google Developer Group, and their brand guidelines are like 20 pages long. Like, you can't put the Google logo with the G, it's crazy. And even for Google Developer Group, we have to have like a certain space in between our logo and the name Google Developer Group Fresno. You can't have it beyond like 15 pixels of space. So keeping that, record of that once you're at that point is, yeah, that's a really good. Oh yeah, definitely. Any other comments or things that you think would be helpful to everyone else in the room? We're all here to learn. Yeah.
Was it ever hard to get funding to start up?
Yeah, so pretty much everything was bootstrapped. It was kind of like me putting personal monies forward, and that's definitely super hard when you're an individual, putting your own money up to buy stuff. Especially when I started out, I was buying product and then selling it, and I was like, I don't know if this is going to sell and that kind of stuff. So when I started having a supplier, that became easier because then I wasn't paying up front for things, and so I'm fortunate enough to have a full-time job, and that was able to offset a lot of the costs, so I'm not starting from nothing, but yeah, it wasn't a very cheap thing to start. Any other questions or thoughts or opinions?
Where can we find some of your design shirts?
Oh yeah, so my store is bookstore.com. I know, my BOK, my bookstore, BEOK store. My Instagram is BE_OK_brand. And then I have all kinds of, I have stuff all over the world. Yeah, I should have put that on my slides. It's kind of an oversight on my part. Yeah, what time is it? Oh, we have about 20 minutes, or more like 15, but there's also snacks and really good stuff out in the lobby if you guys want to end early. It's very hot in here and it's very muggy because of this water sitting here, so I'm sweating. Yeah, that's all I got for you guys, so.